You are not a truth seeker. You are a lawyer, not in the cute metaphorical sense. I mean, neurologically, your brain wakes up every morning, puts on a powdered wig, and begins defending whatever you already believed yesterday. Evidence walks into the courtroom, cross examined, contradictory facts, objection, hostile witness.
And the wildest part? The more intelligent you are, the better you are at defending the wrong thing. So this isn't a philosophy video about relativism. This is an autopsy of the mental machinery that makes you need to be right. Relativism, in everyday language, is the idea that truth is dependent on perspective. Your truth, my truth, their truth. In theory, it sounds peaceful, pluralistic, mature. In practice, it turns Christmas dinner into a Cold War, because the real issue isn't whether truth is relative. The real issue is this: why does disagreement feel like a personal attack? Why does a challenge to an idea feel like a threat to the self? Why can someone show you data, studies, lived experiences, historical records, and your first instinct is not curiosity, but defense? Today, we're going into the psychology, not to mock it, not to pretend we're above it, but to expose the ancient survival software running beneath every rational debate you've ever had online. Because once you see it, you realize relativism isn't just a philosophical position, it's a psychological battlefield.
Relativism in everyday life. Relativism becomes explosive in ordinary situations, politics, religion, gender, race, parenting, diet, even which bloody phone is better. You present evidence, they double down.
They present evidence, you roll your eyes. Nobody moves. Why? Because belief is not just about facts. Belief is identity. Your moral positions signal your tribe. Your worldview tells you who your enemies are. Your opinions map your place in the social universe.
So when someone says you're wrong, your brain doesn't hear update your database. It hears you might lose your people. And from an evolutionary perspective, that is not an intellectual inconvenience. That is death. For most of human history, being expelled from your group meant starvation, exposure, or becoming something's lunch. So your nervous system treats ideological disagreement like a survival threat. That's why your heart rate rises in arguments. That's why your tone changes. That's why your listening ability mysteriously vanishes. You are not debating, you are defending your existence. Exploration. The cognitive bias trinity. Let's break down the three psychological engines that turn humans into belief bodyguards. 1. Confirmation bias. This is your brain's favorite playlist. You don't search for truth, you search for agreement. You follow people who already think like you. You trust sources that validate you. You remember the evidence that supports you and forget the evidence that doesn't. Not because you're stupid, because your brain is efficient. Processing disconfirming evidence is metabolically expensive. It requires cognitive effort, emotional regulation, and social risk. So your brain says, why would we do all that when we could just be right? Example, you think young people are lazy. You see one teenager working 3 jobs, your brain exception. You see one TikTok of someone lying in bed at 2 p.m., your brain proof. That's not logic, that's curation. Motivated reasoning. This is where intelligence becomes dangerous. Motivated reasoning means you don't use reasoning to discover the truth. You use reasoning to justify the conclusion you already emotionally chose. This is why highly educated people are often more polarized, not less. They have more cognitive ammunition. They can construct sophisticated arguments for positions that were never rationally chosen in the first place. Your political stance, for example, is rarely built from neutral evidence. It's built from your upbringing, your economic position, your social identity, your personality traits, your fear profile. Then your intellect arrives afterwards and writes the academic sounding press release. 3. Cognitive dissonance. This is the psychological pain you feel when reality and your self image collide. If you believe I am a good person and evidence suggests you benefited from something unjust, you have two options: change your behavior or change the story. Most people change the story because identity stability is more important to the brain than factual accuracy. That's not a moral failure, that's neural self defense. Relatable everyday examples. Why do people stay in toxic relationships? Because I am someone who makes good choices, cannot coexist with I chose someone who harms me. So the brain edits reality. They didn't mean it. It's not that bad. I can fix them. Same mechanism in political ideology, same mechanism in religion, same mechanism in academic echo chambers. Belief defense is identity preservation. The twist: this is not a bug. Here's the part that breaks the internet's favorite fantasy. This is not a design flaw. This is the feature. If humans did not defend shared beliefs, we would not have cultures, nations, movements, scientific paradigms, liberation struggles, artistic traditions, moral progress. Every major collective achievement required people to say, this is true, and we stand by it. Group cohesion depends on shared narratives. Shared narratives require defenders. Even science, the thing we pretend is purely objective, runs on this structure. Thomas Kuhn showed that scientific revolutions don't happen because everyone calmly updates their beliefs. They happen because one generation dies and another one takes over. Why? Because identity is invested in the paradigm. So yes, belief defense creates conflict, but it also creates belonging. And the brain will always choose belonging over accuracy because belonging keeps you alive. The deeper psychological core: your beliefs are not files in a cabinet. They are emotional anchors. They stabilize your sense of self across time. They tell you who you were, who you are allowed to become. So when a belief is threatened, your brain asks, if this falls, who am I? That's why debates escalate so quickly. It's not about the topic, it's about ontological security. You are defending your continuity as a person. Resolution: what this means for relativism. So where does this leave relativism? Relativism isn't just a philosophical claim that truth is perspective dependent. Relativism is the lived experience of billions of nervous systems protecting their identity belief ecosystems. You are not encountering different opinions. You are encountering different survival strategies. And when you understand that, debate changes. You stop trying to win. You start trying to reduce threat. Because the moment someone feels psychologically safe, their cognitive flexibility increases. Curiosity returns. Nuance becomes possible. Not because you defeated them, but because their nervous system no longer thinks it's about to be socially exiled. So let's summarize the real drivers behind why humans defend their beliefs like their life depends on it. Because historically, it did. Confirmation bias protects cognitive energy. Motivated reasoning protects emotional investment. Cognitive dissonance protects identity coherence. And all of them serve one master function: keep the self stable, keep the group intact, keep the organism alive. This is not stupidity. This is ancient intelligence, which means the goal is not to become a perfectly objective person. That person does not exist. The goal is to become aware of the courtroom inside your own mind, to notice when you are analyzing and when you are defending, because that moment of awareness, that's the closest thing humans get to intellectual freedom. So here's the question. When was the last time you defended a belief and later realized it was about protecting your identity, not discovering truth? Drop it in the comments. Let's turn the comments section into a psychological lab. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, because the next deep dive is going to make your sense of being a rational person extremely uncomfortable and beautifully precise.